The WK1 World Keyboard consists of a 5-octave velocity-sensitive keyboard, and to the left of the keyboard is a pitch bend wheel and a modulation button. These two controls allow for additional articulation of various sounds like guitar, trombone, saxophone, and so forth. We'll use those in a little bit. There is 464 sounds in the instrument, 96 styles in the instrument. Now the styles are your backup band, the auto accompaniment features, and we'll get to those in a little while as well. On the back panel of the instrument, you'll find a MIDI in, out, and through if you want to connect to other MIDI equipment, keyboards, computers, and so forth. There's an audio output. There's a volume pedal input and a sustain pedal input as well. So when you first turn on the instrument, you get a piano sound. That's the first sound that's automatically selected. So let's just go through some sounds starting with that piano sound. Okay. Now, as I said, there's 464 sounds in the instrument, but they're quite easy to get to. On the right panel, there's a list of all of the sounds. They're labeled in groups of pianos, organs, guitars, brass sounds, and so forth. If I wanted an organ, let's say, we could go down the list and we'll see organ group, and the organ sounds are 16 through 23. So using the 10 keypad, I simply type in the number corresponding to the sound that I want. So I know organs are 16 to 23. Let's just start with 16, and we'll listen to this organ sound. Okay, kind of a plain organ sound. If I went to 17, press in 1/7, more of a jazz organ with some percussion. Okay. Besides using the 10 keypad, there's a plus-minus button, which allows you to sequentially step through, up or down, through the different sounds. So in this case, I'm on sound 17. If I press the plus button, that will take me to sound 18, which is another organ sound. Okay. If I go to the next one, that's a big church organ. Okay. Or maybe a trumpet. If we look down the list, brass sounds are 56 through 63. So let's just press 5, 6, and we'll have... There we go. I meant to do that. How about a string ensemble sound? They're 48 through 55, so we'll just press 48, and we'll get... Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty easy to find the sounds you like. Now I want to go back to the piano for a second, and that's the first sound in the list, which is 0, 0. So we'll press 0, 0, and we're back to piano. Okay. To the right of the display, you'll see 3 buttons labeled upper 1, upper 2, and lower. The upper 1 is the only one that's selected right now, which is giving us that piano across the entire keyboard. If I activate upper 2, that will layer a sound with the piano sound. Now in this case it happens to be a string sound, so when I play a key we'll get piano and strings. Okay, you have full control over what sounds are in each of those 2 sections, upper 1 and upper 2. If I wanted to split the keyboard, it's as simple as pressing the button labeled lower. When I do that, now we'll have piano and strings to the right, but then where the split starts, we have a bass. Okay, so now we can play the old favorite. Okay. So, that's sounds on the WK1. To the left of the panel, we have the listings of all the styles. There's 96 styles to choose from, and they're numbered 00 through 95, starting at 00, so there's 96 total styles. If I wanted to add a drum beat to this keyboard setup I have, okay, it's as simple as using the 10 keypad. So we'll look down the list, and let's say we want a Latin beat. So we'll look down the list there, and Latins are 80 through 87. There's actually two groups of Latins, so there's another group of 88 through 95. Well, let's just start with 80. So I go to the 10 keypad, and right below that there's a large button. One is labeled Sound, one's labeled Style. So if I want to select Styles, I press the Style button, and then we'll type in 80, and now we will start using the big Start-Stop button in the middle, and we have a bossa nova. Of course, if you don't want to have to play all of the parts yourself, if you want the WK1 to add a full backup band to what you're playing, that's pretty easy to do as well. We have a button called Single Touch Play. When you press that button, what happens is the instrument automatically splits the keyboard, and then when we go over and select a style, let's pick a jazz style. So jazz is 48 through 55, so let's just stick with 48. So what I'll do, I'll go to the 10 keypad. Now right below that, there's a button labeled Sound and a button labeled Style. Well, I want to select Style, so I'll press the Style button, and then jazz style starts at 48, so we'll press 48. And now, upon doing that, the instrument has split the keyboard automatically, as I said. I've called up a swing beat, but in addition to that, it's given me an appropriate solo sound to play with the swing beat. If I were to call up a country beat, let's say, it might give me say a guitar or a violin or something like a fiddle, I should say. So the sounds are called up automatically, and let's go ahead and start this off. Let's use key start, which means the instrument will start the accompaniments as soon as I play on the keyboard, and we'll also use an intro, and here we go. So you see, one button, single touch play, and then you simply select your style and start playing. It's really, really easy. Each style has 4 variations. Now we were just listening to variation 3, but if we move to variation 1, and we'll do the same thing again. We'll just start with even use an intro and listen to the difference now on variation 1. Okay, so the intro was just 4 clicks. If we go to variation 2 and we use intro, a little fancier. Variation 3 we've already heard. Let's do variation 4 and use the intro. So we're still in the intro section here. Variation 1 starts off very simple. Variation 2 is a little fancier. Variation 3 is fancier yet. And variation 4, as you can hear, will give you a very long intro. And because of using that single touch play button, it's given me a vibes sound to solo with. Now, there's one other thing that happens with the single touch play button, and that is the 9 buttons below the display, called function buttons. When we're in single touch play mode, what happens is these 9 buttons will give us 9 additional sounds that make sense with the particular style you've selected. In this case, a swing style. So right now we've got the vibes. Let's press function button 1. Okay, notice it changed to piano. Variation 2, or function button 2. Variation 3. And right down the list. Now if we wanted to have an ending for our song, simply press the ending button. So 96 styles, and using the single touch play button, that gives you a particular sound for each style and 9 additional sounds in each style. Something else you may have noticed when I was using the function buttons is they not only call up a different sound for your right hand and sometimes even your left hand sound, they will also select variations. So by simply pressing one button, you can change the song up quite a bit. You don't even have to go to the variation buttons. One more thing to mention about styles is each variation has its own intro and its own ending. So when I was showing you the variations, variation 1 has a very simple intro and has a very simple ending. Variation 2 is a little fancier, and all the way up to variation 4 that has a huge intro and a huge ending. And that's true with all of the styles. The last thing to talk about is these function buttons that we've used using single touch play. They have another function which is called performance recall. This is really neat. There's 63 performances in the instrument, and what a performance is, it will store what sound or sounds you have on the keyboard. If you're using upper 1 only, or upper 1 and upper 2 to create a layered sound, if you're using the lower to create a split, if you're using a style and the arranger section, the backup band, the whatever tempo you have selected and whatever variation you want to start that song with, all of that can be stored very simply by pressing and holding the performance recall button. It takes you to the store screen. You select which performance you want to store it into, and you press enter, and it's done. So then when you're out and you want to play that song, you simply go to performance recall, select the appropriate performance you've created or saved, and you're off and running. So you don't have to really press any of these other buttons. Just go to performance recall and select the performance you want. There's 63 of those. Once you fill up that memory in the instrument, there's a floppy disk drive below the left of the keyboard where you can store those performances or songs. Whatever you've done can be stored to that floppy disk and loaded in for later recall. Now, the floppy disk also obviously will play standard MIDI files or gem song format. Any standard MIDI file that has lyrics, those lyrics will display across the top of the display. So if you're not very good with memory and you need to see the lyrics of a song to be able to sing along with it, it will show you those lyrics on the top of the display while you're playing or while that song is playing. That is the instrument.